My name is Chloe Learey, and I'm the Executive Director of the Winston Prouty Center in Brattleboro. Appreciate your time. We purchased the former Austin School campus in 2016. They out of bankruptcy, and we've been managing the space. It's 130,000 square feet of mixed-use space, not residential, about 30 plus tenants. So the past 9 years, we've been managing it. We see ourselves as stewards of a really significant community asset. We didn't need a 180-acre campus, but we needed to, we were growing and needed space, and we see ourselves as sort of, how can we use this asset for our community? As we've discussed, housing comes to the surface over and over again. So why would we build housing here? It's really, I don't know if folks have been to the campus before. It's actually one of the most beautiful views up the Connecticut River Valley, so I'll make a plug for that. But it's already on infrastructure. It's close to downtown, close to hospital, close to retail. We have public transportation on site. It's already a really vibrantly used campus. So we felt like it was our responsibility to explore housing. We've been doing this, our first master plan we completed in 2023, so 2 years. It's gone through several iterations based on feedback and just our learning. And this is where we currently are. The gray buildings are existing. The brown buildings are what we're proposing for housing. Again, it's mostly commercial, retail, nonprofit, not retail, but what we would, there's a UVM extension here, a lawyer's office, other education programs. So we're adding residential to the site. Phase 1 is down. I'm highlighting it. We're ready to do that. It's just a small part of the project. And what this funding would pay for is a pump house. So we are up on a hill, and we had a planning grant to look at what water sewer infrastructure upgrades were needed. And part of is actually an existing problem, the pressure from the town system up to the campus. So this would be based on the estimate we got from the engineering group. This would pay for a pump house, and it will happen in phase 1 because that's where the siting would be. So I just wanted to highlight that this, we're ready to go, and this would help get that infrastructure in and minimize disruption down the road. So there's a rendering of the site. We've done all our studies. We are in the middle of our development review board hearing. We've submitted our stormwater permit. We are communicating with Act 250 about our exemption status. What I want to emphasize, and our goal is to build by the end of this year. It's very aspirational. And I think part of what we have been thinking about is how do we keep holding out a North Star and keep moving and keep momentum going? Because a few years ago, Brattleboro needed 500 units of housing just to meet demand then. It's only gotten worse. So how can we use this community asset? And we've been talking about up to 300 units, not throughout the woods and on the campus, but really where the main part of campus is already developed. So, and part of what's different about our project is we're really thinking about how to have a healthy housing continuum. There's a lot of investment in affordable housing, absolutely important. I think we do it really well, even if we need more of it. But part of the development equation is that we don't have the missing middle. I think Nicholas talked about this, and just, teachers, doctors, people accept jobs in our community and then don't come because they can't find a place to live. So we're really thinking about that missing middle and how we, again, can contribute to a healthy housing continuum. So funding, I just want to point out a couple of things. Those numbers are too small. I just wanted to give you a sample of how are we thinking about this project funding wise. So because we are a nonprofit, we don't need to make money. We just can't lose money. We're trying to keep the capital stack really simple. So, not accessing the typical funding streams partially that might go into a project this size, like the low income housing tax credits, partially because we don't want to cannibalize a limited source that goes to our housing trusts, partially because we want to make sure that we have really mixed income. We don't want to keep segregating people by income. A robust neighborhood has all kinds of people in it, so we want the flexibility to do that. And we, again, want to keep the capital stack simple. So theoretically, if we can borrow 80%, 75 to 80% in debt and then raise the rest in equity, that would keep it sort of, can we make that pencil out? So the challenge in Vermont around development, I'm sure you've heard this, is that the value at the end of the day is less than the cost. So how much can you borrow? And that equation is where we're really trying to, see what is workable. I've learned a lot in the past few years. There's likely to be a gap. And some of those gaps are things like infrastructure costs. If the developer has to pay for infrastructure, it makes the project not pencil out. So what are creative ways that we can come up with solutions to cover the gap? I see this proposal of the allocation as one way to try to do that, as one tool. Hey, let's try to see if we can move the needle on housing development if we invest in infrastructure this way. There are other ways, low interest, no interest loans, bonds, different kinds of equity investment. But so I think, I see it as, if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same outcome, which is not enough housing. So I certainly appreciate your consideration for what are some creative tools to make a difference and help solve what is a community and state and national crisis, frankly. So I hear what the committee's saying around maybe a grant program would be more equitable, or, absolutely, there are different, it's worth talking about how do we do it, but the fact that we might need that we do need public investment to close the gap, I think is sort of indisputable. So, yep, that is, I'm going to stop there because everybody's probably hungry, and let me see if I can stop sharing. And
good job, but what is,
take some questions.
is it the 9 million?
And Chloe, what's your total cost for the project? Is it the $9 million?
We're estimating $9 million for this first phase. Yes.
And how many houses does that get us?
That's 28 units. So average $320,000 per unit, 321. And that's just, that's our back of the envelope. We are, we're in the process of we're talking modular construction, and we are right now getting quotes from 2 manufacturers. So, that give or take some percentage, but yeah, that's where we are.
I've got a question on the 1 million, if somebody can relay this. The 1 million is buying the pump house. What is the capacity that's going to serve? Is that going to serve up to the 300 units?
Yes. Yeah.
That was it. That was mine.
Sort of a more general version of that question, to go from phase 1 to, as close as you could get to 300, will you be seeking, do you need more state investment, or what's that going to look like, the expansion?
Yeah, I think part of the reason I'm really excited about phase 1 is because I think we will learn a lot about what we will need to make the next phases successful. It's sort of a bite-sized, does this work? Does it pencil out? And, I don't know if we can, one of the promises of modular manufacturing is the more you do, the more efficiencies there might be. Can that drive down costs? Are there other funding streams we might find? So when I talk about if there's going to be a gap between value and cost and how do we make this pencil out, I think is the state wanting to be part of the solution, or municipalities or individual investors? So maybe, but I think we'll learn more about what is that gap and find ways to cover it. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry that I'm losing my voice.
I'm sorry you're losing I hope you feel okay.
Yeah, I feel fine. I just feel fine.
We do have a website if you want to learn more. I know I talked really fast, and feel free. I'm happy to talk to anybody. So feel free to reach out.